I stood frozen, my heart pounding in disbelief as flames devoured my wedding gown. The exquisite ivory satin, painstakingly crafted over 6 months to embody my dreams, was now a tragic ruin, blackened, melting, and unrecognizable. Margaret Wilson, my soon-to-be mother-in-law, stood defiantly in the opulent bridal suite of Cleveland's Grand Pavilion Hotel. A lighter gleamed in her perfectly manicured hand, her face twisted with a triumphant, almost manic rage. "Now you can't marry my son," she declared, her voice shrill with hysteria. "Jason deserves someone from our elite social circle, not some nobody from the wrong side of town." With a flourish, she slung her designer purse over her shoulder, her expression radiating smug satisfaction. "My name is Valerie Mitchell, and at 25, I never imagined I'd be watching my wedding dress burn to ashes just 30 minutes before walking down the aisle." My 3 bridesmaids, Jessica, Tina, and Melody, stood paralyzed, their lavender gowns a vivid contrast to the smoldering heap of fabric at my feet. "Mrs. Wilson," I said, my voice surprisingly steady despite the chaos, as I reached for my phone, "you have no idea what you've just done." She laughed, the sound sharp and brittle, like shattering glass. "What I've done," she sneered. "I've saved my son from the biggest mistake of his life. Do you really think your community college degree and your little job at a local advertising agency make you worthy of a Wilson? My Jason belongs with Melissa Hammond. Her father owns half of downtown Cleveland." I pressed a button on my phone, watching Margaret's face closely as I did. Jessica, quick to act, moved to open a window, desperate to clear the thick smoke now curling through the room. "The wedding's off," Margaret continued, waving her hand dismissively. "I'll simply tell everyone you got cold feet. Jason will be upset for a while, but he'll come to understand in time." I raised an eyebrow, my voice calm but firm. "Are you sure about that?" I turned my phone screen toward her, revealing a live feed of the ceremony space downstairs, the elegant rows of white chairs, the floral arch framing the altar, and, most crucially, the massive projection screen now broadcasting a crystal-clear view of this very room. It captured Margaret in her destructive glory, her every word and action laid bare. Her face paled, her eyes widening in horror. What is that?" she stammered. "The wedding live stream," I explained evenly. "It's for Jason's grandparents in Florida and my sister, who's deployed overseas. It's been running for the past 20 minutes, capturing the guests arriving, the musicians setting up." I paused, locking eyes with her, "and you destroying my wedding dress while proclaiming your true feelings about me." Margaret lunged for my phone, her perfectly styled hair coming loose as she shrieked, "Turn it off. You planned this. You set me up." Jessica stepped between us, her voice firm. "Mrs. Wilson, everyone just watched you commit arson on a live video. I suggest you think carefully about your next move." My phone buzzed incessantly with incoming messages. Tina glanced at the screen and gasped. "It's Jason. He's on his way to the bridal suite." Margaret's eyes darted around the room, panic overtaking her smug demeanor. "This isn't what it looks like," she cried, her voice desperate. "I was just testing the fabric. Wedding dresses are supposed to be flame retardant." From my phone, we could hear the murmurs of the gathered guests. Someone had taken control of the live stream, shifting the camera to show the wedding party's reactions. Jason's father sat stone-faced in the front row, his jaw tight. Jason's best man was already sprinting toward the building. Most striking was Jason himself, no longer standing patiently at the altar but racing up the center aisle, his face a mask of shock and fury. "Valerie," Melody whispered, her voice trembling, "what are we going to do about the ceremony? Should we tell everyone to go home?" I looked down at the smoldering remains of my dream dress, now reduced to blackened scraps on the antique hardwood floor. The practical part of my mind, the part that had juggled 2 jobs to put myself through college, was already formulating a plan. "No," I said firmly, my resolve hardening. "The ceremony is happening. Just differently." The door burst open, and Jason stood there, still in his impeccably tailored tuxedo. His eyes moved from my face to his mother, then to the ruined dress on the floor. Behind him, the venue manager and Jason's father, Richard, appeared, both looking utterly horrified. "Mom," Jason said, his voice low and dangerously quiet, "tell me I didn't just watch you burn Valerie's wedding dress while saying she isn't good enough for our family." Margaret's demeanor shifted instantly, her tone softening as she adopted a pleading expression. "Sweetheart, you don't understand. I was protecting you. This girl has been after your money from the start. I was testing her character, and—" "Stop." Jason cut her off, his voice like steel. "Stop lying. I heard everything." He turned to me, his eyes softening with regret. "Val, I'm so sorry. I had no idea she'd do something like this." I stepped carefully around the charred fabric, moving toward him. "It's just a dress," I said, though we both knew it was far more than that. "But your mother just showed everyone exactly what she thinks of me, of us." Jason took my hands in his, ignoring his mother's sputtering protests. "What do you want to do, Val? It's your call." Before I could respond, Richard stepped forward, his expression grim. "Margaret, what have you done?" His voice was low, controlled, but carried an edge I'd never heard before. "Richard, please," Margaret pleaded, her voice trembling. "You know the Hammonds would be a better match. Their family has been part of Cleveland's elite for generations, unlike Valerie, who built a successful career through sheer determination and hard work," Richard interrupted, shaking his head in disgust. "You've gone too far this time." My phone continued to buzz with notifications from guests watching the live stream unfold. The venue coordinator hovered in the doorway, her expression uncertain. "Miss Mitchell," she said hesitantly, "the guests are asking what's happening. Should we make an announcement?" I glanced at the ruins of my dress, then at my bridesmaids in their lavender gowns. A plan was taking shape in my mind, one that would transform Margaret's attempt to sabotage our wedding into something unexpected. "Tell them there's been a change of plans," I said, my voice steady, "but the ceremony will proceed in 20 minutes. Margaret scoffed, her composure cracking. "In what, your underwear?" "You can't possibly." "In my backup dress," I interrupted calmly. The room fell silent. Jason looked at me, confusion flickering across his face. "You have a backup dress?" I hadn't, of course, but 6 months of handling temperamental clients at the advertising agency had taught me to always have a contingency plan. "Melody," I said, turning to my bridesmaid, "remember that photo shoot we did for Cleveland Bride last month? Call Eliza and ask if her sample dress is still available." Melody's eyes lit up with understanding. "The ivory sheath with a lace overlay? It should fit you perfectly." Richard stepped forward, pulling out his phone. "I'll have my driver pick it up immediately." "Where is it?" As the venue staff coordinated the urgent retrieval of the sample dress, I turned to face Margaret, who stood frozen, her eyes wide with disbelief as her carefully laid plan unraveled before her. "You really thought a dress would stop this wedding?" I asked, my voice steady despite the chaos. "After everything Jason and I have been through?" Her lips curled into a sneer, and she gestured toward my phone, still buzzing with notifications. "Everyone's watching," she hissed, her voice dripping with venom. "They all saw what happened." I nodded, unfazed. "Yes, they did. And now they'll see what happens next." I turned to the phone, knowing the live stream was still broadcasting to the guests downstairs. "To everyone waiting," I said, addressing the camera directly, "thank you for your patience. The ceremony will be slightly delayed, but love always finds a way, even when someone tries to burn it down." A roar of cheers erupted from the phone's speakers, the guests in the ceremony space voicing their unwavering support. Jason squeezed my hand, his eyes shining with pride and determination. "Mom," he said, his tone firm and unyielding, "you need to leave. Dad will take you home. You're no longer welcome at our wedding." Margaret's face contorted with rage, her composure shattering. "You'd choose her over your own mother? After everything I've done for you?" Jason's gaze didn't waver. "After what you've done today," he countered. "Absolutely." The next 20 minutes were a whirlwind of activity. Margaret was escorted out by security at Richard's insistence, his apologetic yet resolute demeanor signaling a shift in the family dynamic. Eliza from Cleveland Bride arrived in record time, carrying not one but 3 sample dresses, transforming the bridal suite into an impromptu fashion hub. My bridesmaids, the venue coordinator, and even a few female guests who'd volunteered to help rallied around me, their support a quiet rebuke to Margaret's actions. "This one," Jessica declared, holding up an elegant ivory sheath dress adorned with delicate lace detailing. "It's perfect for your figure, and we can have it ready in minutes." The venue's seamstress, originally hired for minor adjustments, worked miracles with safety pins and swift stitches, her hands moving with practiced precision. Meanwhile, Jason had returned to the ceremony space to address the guests in person. Through the live stream, now thoughtfully repositioned to focus on the altar, I could hear his voice, steady despite the morning's upheaval. "Today didn't start the way any of us expected," he said, his words carrying a quiet strength. "But Valerie and I have always believed that it's not perfect circumstances that make a marriage work. It's how you handle the imperfect ones together." A round of applause echoed through the speakers, and I smiled as Melody adjusted a borrowed veil on my head. "There," Melody said, stepping back to admire her work. "You look absolutely stunning." The dress wasn't the one I'd envisioned wearing when I became Mrs. Jason Wilson, but as I studied my reflection in the mirror, I realized it suited me perfectly. Simpler, more elegant, and somehow stronger than my original choice, it mirrored my ability to adapt to life's challenges rather than be defeated by them. Richard knocked gently on the door before entering, his eyes widening as he took in my appearance. "Valerie, you look beautiful," he said, his voice thick with emotion. He paused, his expression pained. "I want to apologize for Margaret. Her behavior was inexcusable." "You don't need to apologize for her, Mr. Wilson," I replied softly. "You didn't burn my dress." He nodded gratefully, a flicker of relief crossing his face. "Jason sent me to tell you that everyone's ready whenever you are," he said, a small smile breaking through. "And he mentioned that your boss from the agency is here. Apparently, he's documenting everything for what he calls the greatest viral wedding marketing campaign Cleveland has ever seen." I laughed, shaking my head. Trust Eddie to turn a disaster into a promotional opportunity. My years in the advertising world had taught me that the most compelling stories often emerge from overcoming unexpected challenges. The venue coordinator appeared at the door, her expression calm but expectant. "We're ready when you are, Miss Mitchell. The musicians are prepared, and we've adjusted the lighting to complement your new dress." I paused, an idea sparking. "The live stream is still running, right?" When she confirmed it was, I made a quick decision. "Can we project it in the ceremony space for a few more minutes? I'd like everyone to see us walking from here to there, the whole journey, not just the arrival." 10 minutes later, as my bridesmaids and I made our way through the venue's lush garden path toward the ceremony space, I knew every step was being broadcast to the waiting guests. This wasn't a traditional bridal entrance, but something far more powerful, a declaration that nothing, not even a vindictive mother-in-law with a lighter, could derail our day. As we approached the doors to the ceremony space, the guests' applause grew louder, a wave of encouragement washing over us. Jason waited just inside, his face lighting up as he saw me. "Ready to get married?" he asked, taking my hand. "More ready than ever," I replied, squeezing his fingers tightly. The ceremony that followed wasn't the one we'd meticulously rehearsed, but it felt more authentic than anything we could have planned. As I walked down the aisle in my borrowed dress, the guests rose to their feet, their applause breaking the traditional reverent silence. Their faces radiated not just the usual wedding joy, but something deeper: respect, admiration, and solidarity. Richard stood proudly in the front row, occasionally glancing at the empty seat where Margaret should have been. His eyes met mine briefly, conveying silent support. Our officiant, Pastor Mitchell, no relation, though we joked about it, improvised beautifully. "Dearly beloved," he began, his voice warm and resonant, "we are gathered here today to witness not just a wedding but a triumph of love over adversity. Valerie and Jason have already faced their first challenge as a couple, and they've met it with grace, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to each other. During our vows, Jason added lines we hadn't rehearsed. "I promise to stand by you against anyone who tries to come between us," he said, his voice carrying to the back of the room and beyond to those watching the live stream. "Even if, especially if, that person is from my own family." When it came time to exchange rings, a flicker of panic crossed Jason's face. The rings had been with his mother during the pre-ceremony preparations. Richard quickly stepped forward, producing a velvet box from his pocket. "I took the liberty of retrieving these earlier," he said quietly, "just in case." After we were pronounced husband and wife, the celebration that erupted seemed to release all the tension that had built up throughout the afternoon. As we walked back down the aisle, I noticed Eddie, my boss, filming discreetly from the side, giving me a thumbs up that was both professional and genuinely emotional. The reception in the Grand Pavilion's ballroom had an atmosphere unlike any wedding I'd attended. Instead of polite conversation and standard rituals, there was a festive defiance in the air. Someone had created a custom Snapchat filter featuring a phoenix rising from ashes, with our names emblazoned underneath. "Your wedding is trending locally on social media," Jessica informed me as we entered the reception. "People are using hashtag rising from the ashes and hashtag can't burn love." Jason's college roommate, Tom, who worked in public relations, approached us with his phone. "The Cleveland Plain Dealer wants a statement," he said. Their lifestyle editor saw the live stream. Her niece was a guest, and they're calling it Cleveland's most resilient wedding. Jason smiled, his arms secure around my waist. "Tell them we're grateful for everyone's support," he said, "and that true commitment means facing obstacles together, not running from them." As the evening unfolded, I noticed Richard speaking intensely with various family members, his gestures radiating calm authority. Jason's Aunt Diane approached our table during dinner, leaning down to speak privately. "Richard is beside himself," she confided. "Margaret's been escorted home, but she's threatening to cut Jason out of the family business if he doesn't come to his senses. Richard told her that after today, she's the one who needs to worry about her position in the company." Jason squeezed my hand under the table. "Dad's always been the backbone of the family," he murmured. "Mom just never realized it because he let her think she was in charge." As our first dance began, I couldn't help but notice the empty tables near the front, spaces reserved for Margaret's country club friends who had quietly slipped away after the incident. In their place, colleagues from my advertising agency had moved forward, filling the void with genuine warmth and support. "Mr. Wilson is handling damage control like a pro," Eddie commented, approaching us after the dance with 2 glasses of champagne. "He's personally thanking everyone for staying while subtly letting Margaret's allies know they won't be missed." Jason nodded, watching his father work the room with newfound respect. "I think this is the first time I've seen him stand up to her so publicly," he said quietly. 27 years of marriage, and today was his breaking point. The wedding photographer, initially hired by Margaret, approached us cautiously. "Mrs. Wilson, the younger Mrs. Wilson," she clarified with a smile, "I've captured some beautiful moments today, but I wanted to ask about the dress incident. Some guests took photos. Would you prefer I request they keep those private?" I glanced at Jason, then back at the photographer. "Let them share," I said. "Those photos tell the story of what we overcame today. They're part of our journey." She nodded, her expression one of quiet admiration. "You two are something else," she said before slipping back into the crowd. As the night drew to a close, the weight of the day's events settled over me, not as a burden but as a testament to the strength of our love. The borrowed dress, the improvised ceremony, the outpouring of support from our guests, it all wove together into a story far more meaningful than the one we'd planned. Margaret had tried to burn down our future, but instead, she'd ignited something stronger. A wedding that wasn't just a celebration but a declaration of resilience, unity, and unbreakable commitment. I exchanged a glance with Jason, his steady presence grounding me as I considered the photographer's question about the photos of the dress incident. "Actually," I said, my voice calm but resolute, "I think honesty is the best approach here. This is part of our story now." As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a notification. A short clip of Margaret setting fire to my wedding dress had already garnered over 20,000 views on a local Cleveland news page. The comment section was a flood of support, interwoven with heartfelt stories from other brides who had faced their own battles with difficult in-laws. Eddie, my boss, approached, scrolling through his phone with a grin. "You might not have planned it, Val, but you've started a movement. Standing strong against toxic family dynamics is resonating with people." Jason's cousin Mia appeared at our table, her expression a blend of embarrassment and resolve. "I want you both to know that not everyone in the family shares Aunt Margaret's views," she said firmly. "Most of us think she crossed a line that can't be uncrossed." I reached out, touched by her sincerity. "Thank you, Mia. That means more than you know." As the evening unfolded, Jason's phone lit up with a text from his father. He read it silently before tilting the screen toward me. The message read, "Your mother has locked herself in the guest house, demanding I choose between her and that girl. I've told her behavior today has made my choice remarkably easy. We'll discuss next steps when you return from your honeymoon. Proud of you both. Dad." I searched Jason's face for any trace of regret or doubt. "Are you okay?" I asked quietly. He squeezed my hand, his eyes clear and unwavering. "I'm better than okay," he replied. "For years, I watched Mom undermine Dad, belittle you, and manipulate everyone around her. Today, she finally showed her true colors to everyone, not just us. It's like a weight has been lifted." As the reception continued, I noticed a remarkable shift. Guests from Margaret's side of the family and social circle, who had been stiff and formal at the start, were now relaxing, engaging more authentically with my friends and family. Without Margaret's watchful eye, the artificial social barriers she'd so carefully maintained began to dissolve. The venue coordinator, Mrs. Larson, approached with an unexpected smile. "There's something you should see," she said, leading us to the ballroom's entrance. There, displayed prominently on an easel, was a large photo frame filled with dozens of handwritten notes from guests. The heading above them read, "Messages of love and resilience for Valerie and Jason." "Your bridesmaids organized this," Mrs. Larson explained. "They asked guests to write messages of support after what happened." I scanned the notes, each one a testament to the strength and solidarity of our community, their words weaving a tapestry of encouragement that warmed my heart. 1 week into our honeymoon in the Maldives, Jason and I sat on the private deck of our overwater villa, the crystal blue waters shimmering below as we scrolled through messages during our daily check-in with reality. "Dad says Mom's staying with her sister in Cincinnati," Jason said, setting his phone down. "Apparently, Aunt Linda is the only one who still buys her story about testing the dress fabric and everyone misunderstanding." I smiled wryly, adjusting my sun hat. Hard to misunderstand someone shouting, "Now you can't marry my son," while brandishing a lighter. The Cleveland media had seized our story, transforming a sensational local wedding disaster into a broader conversation about toxic family dynamics and the importance of standing up for healthy relationships. Several women's magazines had reached out, requesting interviews about setting boundaries with difficult in-laws. "Eddie says the agency has 3 new client inquiries," I told Jason, showing him the message. "They're specifically asking for the team with the wedding dress phoenix. He wants to know if we'd consider joining a panel discussion on crisis management when we get back." Jason took my hand, his thumb brushing over my new wedding band. "Only if you want to," he said. "We can keep this private if you prefer." I thought of the messages we'd received from other couples facing similar challenges, with disapproving families. "Maybe our experience can help others," I said. "It's not how I planned to start our marriage, but it's authentic," Jason finished, his smile mirroring mine. "Like us." 3 months later, Jason and I attended the Wilson Family Foundation's annual gala, our first major public appearance since returning from our honeymoon. The event, typically orchestrated by Margaret, had been entirely reimagined under Richard's direction. "Nervous?" Jason asked as our car pulled up to the Cleveland Art Museum. "A little," I admitted, smoothing the skirt of my stunning emerald gown, a custom design from Eliza's boutique. Eliza had turned our wedding story into a successful marketing campaign centered on resilience and second chances. Inside, the atmosphere was noticeably different from previous years. The stiff formality was gone, replaced by genuine warmth and a sense of purpose. Richard greeted us at the entrance, his face beaming with pride. "There they are," he said, embracing us both, "the couple who inspired our foundation's new initiative." He guided us toward a display showcasing the Wilson Family Foundation's newest program, Rising Phoenix Grants for women starting over after difficult life transitions. The foundation's logo had been redesigned to incorporate a subtle phoenix motif, a nod to our story. "We've already approved funding for 15 women," Richard explained proudly, each one rebuilding after challenging circumstances. As we mingled, I noticed a young woman approaching, her expression tentative but determined. "Mrs. Wilson," she said, "I'm one of the grant recipients. Your wedding story gave me the courage to leave my toxic marriage. Now I'm starting my own business." I felt a lump in my throat, her words a reminder of the ripple effect our experience had created. Later that evening, as Jason and I shared a quiet moment on the museum's terrace, his phone buzzed with a new message. "Mom's coming back to Cleveland," he said, his tone thoughtful. "Dad says she's agreed to counseling if she wants any chance of reconciliation." I squeezed his hand, offering silent support. "Whatever happens with your parents," I said, "we face it together." He smiled, pulling me close. "Some flames are meant to destroy," he murmured, "but others just reveal what's unbreakable." As we stood there, the city skyline twinkling below, I realized that Margaret's attempt to sabotage our wedding had done the opposite. It had forged a stronger bond between us, reshaped the Wilson family dynamic, and inspired others to rise from their own ashes. Our story, born from adversity, had become a beacon of resilience, proving that love, when tested, could burn brighter than any flame meant to tear it apart. Please feel free to comment below if you liked this. Remember to like and subscribe for more.